Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Coffee Consultants Mastermind Group. Check the show notes for details how you can join today. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the attrition rate of employees in the coffee industry. If you have never heard the term attrition rate, what it means is what is the rate that people are leaving jobs or their job in their business. So we often look at the attrition rate in a business so that we can get an understanding of how many people in a year are joining the business and how many people are leaving the business and how quickly, more importantly, how quickly are people leaving those businesses after they've joined. It will come as no surprise to people that are in the coffee industry already that the attrition rate for most coffee small businesses is quite high. And recently, this has been something that keeps coming up for a couple of reasons. Once the pandemic hit, our industry was affected, devastatingly affected. Government funding showed up in most countries, and what ended up happening is because pay rates are so low in most countries for baristas and coffee roasters in small business, people opted to go on government funding and leave their jobs. Now what we're starting to see is as places open back up, different cities open back up, those small businesses are trying to get things running again, and what they're finding is that they can't get employees to join their businesses. Now that's one problem. But the other problem is for those people who are finding people coming back, they're finding that the attrition rate is still as high as it was, if not higher, than before the pandemic hit. Now, this has always been a problem in our industry. And we need to figure this out because we've got baristas coming into cafes and staying 3 months, 12 months if you're lucky, and 2 years if you're super lucky. And this is difficult for small business owners. And the biggest problem and the biggest complaint that I hear from cafe owners in the coffee industry about this attrition rate, the biggest gripe that they have, which is causing a real divide between business owners and baristas. And that gripe is, why should I invest in my staff if they're just going to leave? And I think somewhere in the grey of that mindset is where we can start to mine the reason of why we have such a high attrition rate in the coffee industry. It's not the only reason. There are a number of reasons, but we are at an impasse in our industry whereby we have Gen Z entering the industry looking for a career and wanting to be mentored into a career. And at the same time, we've got employers saying, I'm not going to invest in these people until I know they're going to stick around. And folks, I'm here to tell you that mindset hasn't worked in the previous generations. It's not working. It hasn't worked for a long time, and it's not going to work, particularly with people from Gen Z, because one important element of what Gen Z want from an employer is they want mentorship and they want programs in the workplace that contribute to their lifestyle and their quality of life. And so if what you're going to say as an employer is, I'm not going to invest in anybody until they show me they're going to stick around, we're going to be at a serious impasse moving forward with the generation that's currently entering our workforce. So, what are some reasons why we have such a high attrition rate? We've already established one. Baristas feel that there's not enough input from employers, investment of their long-term careers. The other one is there hasn't been a heavy focus on culture. There hasn't been a heavy focus on what does it feel like in this particular workplace to be a part of this team. Now, what I have observed as a consultant is that when a small business invests time in trying to understand what culture they want to build in the workplace and then go on to put the effort into establishing that culture, the attrition rate of that business goes down. So what that means is employees stay longer because they've been screened beforehand as to whether they fit the culture. But the reason they stay along is because they know that this is a workplace that fits with their own values. It's a workplace that is a solid foundation of where they want to be at this time in their career. Now, the next reason that the attrition rate is so high in our industry is because employers are so flat out trying to figure out how to run their business that career development and a future prospect or map for where this employee fits into the business isn't something that they have time to dedicate to cultivating. Not as much time as the employee would like anyway. And, this is something that needs to happen in a workplace. And when I say to clients and in our mastermind groups, going into small business is something that you should understand is like taking on board the responsibility of mentoring your employees' careers. That's an imperative part of having a low attrition rate. That being said, just because you do pour into your employees, it doesn't mean that they're not going to go off and join someone else after you have poured into them. And this is that thing we were talking about before. You'll invest in an employee who's with you for a couple of years. They'll take all this great information that you've taught them and they'll go and work for somebody else. Unfortunately, as much as that sucks, that's a part of being a small business owner. It's a part of what comes with the territory. And all I can say on that is cultivate people you want to experience success and let them experience success however they decide to do that, whether it's with you or whether it's with somebody else. But knowing that there are people out there whose lives are better because of what the value exchange was between you and them, and you helped them become a better professional, that's an awesome thing. And you should be proud of that. And I assure you that as long as you leave on good terms, that person's going to always speak fondly of their experience with you. And you never know, one day they may join your business again. Now, in my opinion, the number one reason that we have such a high attrition rate in this industry is the one that I wanted to leave for last. And that's because people do not feel valued in our industry. Baristas, entry-level roasters, they are paid minimum wage and they're paid that with a sense of mistrust. They're paid that by small business owners who really don't know if this person's going to work out. And because they're paid so little, going from one job to the next doesn't feel like it's a harsh decision for them. But here's something that we should focus on. I want you, if you're a small business owner and if you're an employee, I want you to ask yourself, what is the value exchange between me and my employer? If you're the employer, what is the value exchange between me and my employees? Now, as long as the value exchange is there, and there is previously an episode on the value exchange between employees and employers, but as long as the value exchange feels like it's being attained for both parties, your attrition rate is going to continue to be low. You will lose staff, but you will lose them at a lot lower rate and for different reasons than what you were losing them for before. So this isn't just about, I got to increase my employees' pay. Sure, increase your employees' pay. Make sure that your employees are achieving a livable wage, but also help your employees understand what the value exchange is for that. Make sure that people understand what's required of them when they work for you, and make sure that if you're an employee, your employer understands what's valuable to you so that you can work on a symbiotic relationship that you want to cultivate and grow over an extended period of time rather than a short period of time. I hope this has been helpful. This is a really tough one, and it really hits a lot of small business owners where it hurts. And so hopefully this has given you some food for thought, whether you're an employee or an employer. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.